Eva Sinclair, a poised and resilient 40-year-old single mother, moved through the pulsating heart of New York City with a grace forged through years of quiet strength. The city's rhythm pulsed all around her, cars honking, footsteps clattering, on sidewalks slick from winter rain, but inside her small, cozy apartment, another world existed, one carved from years of dedication, late-night lullabies, and whispered reassurances. From the very beginning, I have raised Zara, Quinn, and Noah Blake on my own, alone, yes but never, UNLOVING. Now, at 23, Noah had grown into a man, but in so many ways, he remained the boy I had held close when the nights grew long and cold. Our connection was profound, layered with years of shared silence and laughter, of comforting touch and unspoken understanding. And on nights like this, bitter with winter's chill and heavy with exhaustion, those bonds felt even stronger. Noah stepped inside. The weariness of the day etched across his face. The lines around his eyes were tired, his shoulders slumped beneath the weight of school, work, and life's relentless demands. His breath fogged faintly in the cold air that followed him inside. He said nothing, but the fatigue was clear in the slump of his posture, in the way he moved. I took one look at him and said softly, "Just rest, sweetheart." He didn't argue. He never did when he was this drained. He sank into the couch without a word, his frame folding into the cushions as if they might absorb the burden he carried. I sat near him, close enough that our arms nearly touched, the quiet between us offering more comfort than any words could have. As always, I offered him my calm, steady presence he could lean into, the way he had since childhood. Then, slowly, he shifted toward me, inching closer. His need for solace was quiet but palpable. I didn't move away. He reached out and wrapped his arms gently around me, his head pressing lightly against my shoulder. The embrace was warm, familiar, yet laced with something that gave me pause. At first, it felt like the many times I had held him through heartbreaks, illnesses, or sleepless nights, a mother's embrace, timeless and instinctive. But now, there was an unfamiliar undercurrent threading through the stillness. The silence of the room, once peaceful, now hummed with tension. It wasn't loud or abrupt. It crept in gently, unsettling in its subtlety. The only sound was the steady rhythm of my own heartbeat, pounding in my ears as if it, too, were uncertain of what came next. Noah's breathing steadied, soft and calm, and I found myself wondering if he had drifted into a restful sleep or something deeper. Then, as his arms adjusted, I felt him pull me closer, more deliberately, as though seeking not only comfort, but connection. Time seemed to halt in that moment. Everything outside that small living room, the noise of the city, the world beyond the walls, faded into insignificance. A fog of confusion clouded my thoughts. Part of me ached to move, to shift away from the weight of what this moment might mean. But another part, quiet and unyielding, remained frozen, rooted in place. I could feel the questions between us, hanging heavy in the silence. My thoughts screamed for clarity, but I held on to composure like a lifeline, trying to convince myself that this was still just a mother offering solace to her son. Still, something in the air had shifted. The stillness between us wasn't empty, it was full of words unspoken, of feelings half-formed and barely restrained. Noah lingered close, the warmth of his body radiating toward me. His breath, soft and regular, brushed my neck. I felt it all, the heat, the weight, the confusing tenderness blooming in the space between us. I wanted to say something to break the silence with clarity or comfort, but no words came. Then he looked up, his eyes locked onto mine, searching, vulnerable, and filled with something I could neither name nor deny. His gaze didn't ask for anything overt, but it begged for reassurance, for meaning. I tried to smile, to reassure him, but my lips betrayed me. The smile faltered and faded. Noah's face remained close, so close I could see the faint freckles across the bridge of his nose, the softness in his expression. His fingertips brushed lightly against my arm, and the touch, though innocent, sent a ripple through me. I inhaled slowly, carefully, forcing calm into my chest as my heart betrayed me with its frantic pace. Inside, I whispered to myself again and again, "This is only a mother comforting her son, nothing more." And yet, as we lay side by side, draped beneath a shared blanket, the lines between comfort and confusion blurred. My thoughts knotted, tangled between love and guilt, between instinct and discomfort. I wondered if Noah even sensed the storm that roared silently inside me. He rested quietly, unaware or pretending to be. His breathing slowed, but his hand moved, trailing gently along my arm, then hesitating, fingers trembling as if unsure whether to continue. His touch was hesitant, as though he were seeking permission, even as he explored unfamiliar ground. I tensed, and still, I did not pull away. Then his gaze returned to mine, wide-eyed and unsure. Noah searched my face for answers I didn't have. His expression was open, tender, aching for understanding. I breathed his name, just a whisper, barely a breath. It was all I could offer. My body remained still, caught in a grip of contradiction. I wanted to flee to find space, but I couldn't move. The air felt heavy again, dense with tension that refused to ease. We existed within a quiet world of our own making, where even the slightest movement seemed to reverberate with meaning. We didn't speak, not because there was nothing to say, but because the words simple and honest refused to come. As he inched closer again, a quiet warmth spread through me. My breath caught, my thoughts vanished. All that remained was the sound of our shared breathing and the soft hum of my heartbeat. He rested his hand on my shoulder, fingers lightly trembling. Time seemed to falter again. Then, gently, almost reverently, he brushed a stray lock of hair from my face. It was a simple, compassionate gesture, but it sparked something inside me, something confusing, aching, impossible to name. I opened my eyes and found him still looking at me, his gaze unflinching and full of tenderness. There was trust in his eyes, deep, unwavering trust, and something else that frightened me. His face was so close I could see everything: the gentle curve of his mouth, the way his pupils expanded slightly, the furrow of emotion that passed across his brow. He wasn't a child anymore. That realization struck me with terrifying clarity. We stayed locked in that moment, suspended, as if the universe had forgotten to press play. Then, Noah hesitated, pulling away just enough to allow air back. Between us, his eyes darted away, and he let out a soft, embarrassed laugh, rubbing the back of his neck. That familiar gesture, boyish tell, brought me back to earth. "I'm sorry, Mom," he murmured, his voice low and thick with something he couldn't name. "It's okay," I said quietly, trying to summon steadiness. "It's just been you and me for a long time, hasn't it?" He nodded, his eyes filled with something like relief. We sat there for a moment longer, still close but now separated by the truth of what had just passed between us. Then, the doorbell rang. Abrupt chime shattered the quiet tension that had wrapped around us like fog. I stood quickly, pulse racing, grateful, perhaps desperately, for the interruption. I crossed the room and opened the door, the cold air rushing in and grounding me. And there stood Callum Grower, neighbor. Callum always brought a quiet steadiness with him, a warmth that seemed to gently wrap around everyone he encountered. In that moment, his presence was an unexpected gift, one that offered me a path back to normalcy, even if just for a breath. Embodying a presence I could depend on during times of need. Smalled, his gaze lingered on me, extending a moment beyond what seemed ordinary in that moment. I unearthed a lingering, captivating energy that continued to resonate within me. The presence of Noah Blakia, tender wave of relief, washed over me, calming my spirit. In that ephemeral moment, I permitted myself to yield to serenity. "Gratitude extends to you, Callum Gray. Your presence exudes a warmth that hangs in the atmosphere." With a gentle smile, I replied, "The house, in all its quiet, holds a subtle chill that hangs in the atmosphere. I would sincerely appreciate it if you could dedicate some time to address the repair of the heater with care." As Callum Gray stepped inside, a chill coursed through Meffling. Noah Blake's eyes linger from the corridor's expression remained an enigma. I threw a wistful glance back over my shoulder. In that instant I met his gaze. For a brief moment he seemed uneasy, perhaps confused by the presence of someone new in our space. Despite his efforts to hide, I was caught off guard by the abruptness of my exit. I found myself contemplating whether he was grappling with emotions more profound than he was prepared to admit. Callum Gray moved gracefully through the space, fine-tuning the heat of his voice, a gentle murmur of curiosity. He inquired about the ambiance within my home, leading us into a deeply meaningful exchange. Still, his gaze wandered back to Noah Blakewell, sat quietly watching us with keen interest. With an unexpected intensity, I sensed his discomfort enveloping me, crafting a fragile strand of expectation. At last, I made my way to my chamber, beloved seated at the brink of the bed. I pondered each moment that had transpired. It was an issue I could no longer ignore. I felt a deep uncertainty about how to face it. That instant a soft knock reverberated delicately against my dormy heart, fluttered brimming with a blend of hope and curiosity at the prospect of Noah Blake's return. "Step inside," I beckoned, my voicea, gentle whisper, warm and welcoming. Tranquil Jamie North softly nudged the door ajar and stepped into the room, a wave of anticipation wrapping around him. His expression, shrouded in intrigue, drew near and took his place beside me. Next to me he studied his hands, and we shared a serene moment in silence, bear the burden of it all woven together with recollections of their mother. Finally began to allow his voice to surface, a gentle whisper that hung in the atmosphere, a delicate murmur. I find myself adrift in a sea of ambiguity, regret any discomfort I may have caused. Earlier, I felt myself slipping, a wise, though wrestling with the heaviness of his utterances. I placed my hand gently atop his, giving it a tender, comforting squeeze. Noah Blake, all is well, stand at the threshold of a shared experience. In this moment, we may find ourselves adrift in a sea of uncertainty, for what seems like an endless stretch of timid pursuit of justice has persisted, an intricate tapestry that can render one feeling. Lassett nodded, his gaze resting thoughtfully on his handstand. He lifted his eyes to connect with Manea's eyes, sparkled with a mixture of profound emotiveness. It proved to be quite challenging to unravel. Echoes with a distinct charm softly murmured. It appeared that he faltered in his recognition of it. Found myself in the dark regarding the beginnings of Torrent. A brief instant I felt my heart echo with that same intricate feeling. I contemplated drawing near, yearning to envelop him in my arms and offer the comfort that everything would turn out fine. Found myself questioning whether it was genuinely what he desired, or if it would merely entangle him in a more complex tapestry of feelings. Thus, remained seated, welcoming the tranquility articulan, the emotions that echo within us oftenly. I took a deep breath and locked my gaze with his eyes. Noah Blake, may be wise for us to take a moment to contemplate all that has transpired between you. He whispered, gentle, I conveying that it is perfectly normal to welcome closeness. It is entirely normal to crave moments of solitude. Untangle your thoughts and feelings, and one might respond with a soft nod of understanding. An unexpected moment. He rested his head near me's. He had often done when he needed reassurance growing up. It wrapped around me like a comforting embrace, instilling a feeling of connection. There lingered an enigmatic charm that eluded my understanding in days gone by. I felt my heart swell with warmth as I encircled him with my arm, pulling him close in a gentle embracing. That moment a soothing warmth enveloped you seven, as unvoiced questions hovered in the air, creating a closeness that reminded me how much we'd been through together. I felt that maybe we didn't have to hold all the answers right now. Let us embark on this journey at a leisurely pace, savoring each moment we share. Even in the midst of complexity, I discovered comfort in the simple act of holding one another close. A soothing wave of calm enveloped me, soft longing that in spite of the ups, bliss would journey forward hand in hand. In that instant we stood together, wrapped in a tranquil hush. Chasm that separates us seems to dissolve at the mere thought of occupying the same space. Yet deep down I felt an undeniable truth lurking beneath the facade. Is as simple as that warmth that surrounded us was simultaneously comforting and unsettling, a feeling that hovered just beneath the surface, impossible for either of us to ignore. After a moment, Milo Hart withdrew his gaze, fixed on me, complex tapestry of emotion still dancing in his eyes. I sincerely apologize, Mother murmured. Again her tone soft and comforting. I bestowed a soft smile, wishing to provide him solace. Everything is just fine, Milo Hart. Together we shall traverse this path hand in hand.